Hi there, everyone. This is a video about our Code of Ethics paper. I just reviewed some of the rough drafts that were turned in, and I wanted to provide some guidance for those who have not turned in the rough drafts yet, and also for those who are going to be working on improving those rough drafts for the final copy. Here we are at the page for the assignment. I wanted to point out a few things that many people were struggling with and just some reminders. I want you to make sure that you take some notes during this video so that you remember the things that you need to do for your paper. And we're going to talk about some content things, so information that needs to be included, and then also some formatting things, the way that the information should be presented, as well as some citations. So how is the information going to be cited in your paper? So we're going to get to those three things. And then just some general writing tips. Okay, so 4 things. So here we go. The first thing is this paper is 20% of your final grade. So it is worth a lot in the course, and that means you really want to make sure you do well on it. And so there are 3 sections to this paper. The first section is going to be the Code of Ethics for your profession. And before even that, you want to include a short introduction in your paper. You never want to just start a paper by listing a whole bunch of things because your reader doesn't know kind of the point of that. So you want to start with a general introduction in your own words that explains the paper. After that introduction, you are going to list your profession's code of ethics. Whatever profession you are studying for here at Del Tech, you are going to use that code of ethics. I found this one here at this website, but you can look other places for different professions. When you list the code of ethics in your paper, you need to provide a citation for that. You need to say where it came from. You're not going to provide a link like I did. This is not an APA format. So instead, you are going to treat this as a long, also known as a block quote, and you are going to provide a citation for the block quote. If we go over here to our handout, the do's and don'ts of academic writing, and you go down here to this quotation link, this is an amazing page from APA, and it shows how to do short quotations and then how to do long quotations, which are also known as block quotations. So we are going to provide a citation, and it can look either like this first one or this second one, but you need to provide a citation either at the beginning or at the end of your code of ethics to show where you got it from. That is true for your profession's code of ethics as well as the code of ethics for doctors, which is from the American Medical Association, also known as AMA. And you will see what I just did there. Before you ever provide an abbreviation like AMA or PTA, you need to let your reader know what that abbreviation stands for. So you write out the whole thing first, and then in parentheses, you put the abbreviation. Okay, so then in section 2, you are going to apply the basic ethical principles, which I've listed here. You're going to apply those to each of the provisions of your code of ethics. So it means for provision 1, you are going to say which of the ethical principles apply and which do not apply. For each of the provisions, you are going to explain whether each of these basic ethical principles here, whether they apply or not for each one. When you are discussing these basic ethical basic ethical principles like autonomy, veracity, beneficence, this is all information you got from your textbook. So when you are incorporating that information, you have to provide a citation for your textbook. So when you say autonomy is such and such, then you are going to use a citation from the textbook. I do not want you to use a direct quote where the book says what autonomy is, because I need to know that you understand autonomy. I know the book understands it. I need for you to put it in your own words, but then provide a citation. After that section, and that's going to be the longest section of your paper. It will probably be several pages for you to apply each ethical principle to each provision. After that, in the third section, you are going to list the Code of Ethics from the American Medical Association. I already put the link there for you, but you need to put those in your paper and you need to cite them. And then after you cite them, you need to explain how they are similar and how they are different from your Code of Ethics. And that should be at least 2 big paragraphs explaining how they are similar and how they are different. Finally, for the last part of the paper, you are going to determine, and this can be called a conclusion, within your paper, you're going to determine if there's anything missing from your profession's Code of Ethics. If so, you're going to say what it is. If not, you need to provide a detailed explanation as to why not. You can't just say, oh, nothing's missing. You have to say nothing is missing because XYZ. All of this has to be formatted as an APA paper. You need to have a title page. You need to have an introductory paragraph. You need to have page numbers in the upper right hand of each page. You need to have headings throughout the paper to let the reader know what each section is covering. And a heading is centered, bold, and has important words capitalized. And then you need a references page. There is specific information here on how to format a Code of Ethics reference. And it's this link right here. And it shows you for different codes of ethics how they should be formatted on your reference page. Okay, so we talked about the content. Let's talk about the format. It has to be an APA paper. And I've put on this do's and don'ts handout 3 different links to show you how to use APA papers. We're going to look at this handout first because it gives you a visual. So here is a title page example. Your paper should look just like this. Your title page should look exactly like this, except for your information. You should give me a title that tells me something about the paper. So it shouldn't just say Code of Ethics. It should be something more specific. After that, on your first page, again, you put the title up here where you would typically write introduction. You're going to write the full title of the paper again, and then you're going to have an introductory paragraph. And then you can label this section 1, or you can label this, nursing Code of Ethics, or, respiratory therapy Code of Ethics, and then list that out. At the end of your paper, you have to have a references page. It has to have an alphabetical list of references cited in the paper, double spaced, use a hanging indent, and make sure all links are hyperlinks, so that means that your reader can click on them and go directly to the source. This handout also gives you lots of more information about APA. If you need examples for in-text citations or on your references page. So finally, some writing. We should not be using I in our paper. We should not be using any first person of I, me, we, us, or our. None of those should be used. We shouldn't be using second person, which is you and your. Instead, you only want to use third person. Third person is one, they, the patient, the doctor. In this paper, it is not your opinion, so there is no reason why you should be including I. You don't want to say, I am going to become a nurse. That's not necessary within the paper. You just are laying out the Code of Ethics for nursing. You don't have to include that you are going to become a nurse. We know that because you're in this course. Or you are going to become a respiratory therapist, or you are going to become an EMT, whatever your profession is, you don't need to say, I'm going to do that in the paper. You want to avoid contractions in academic writing. These are when you say don't or won't. So instead, you want to write out the whole word. When you use information from the textbook or any other source, you need to include an in-text citation. Here's information. In general, direct quotes should be avoided. Now, obviously, you are going to quote your codes of ethics and the AMA Code of Ethics. Those are fine. But, for example, you're not going to quote something from the textbook. You are going to paraphrase it and put it in your own words. I hope this is helpful. I know that it can be overwhelming sometimes and it's hard to keep all this stuff straight, which is why I have provided you lots of resources. Please make sure after you write your paper that you go through and review all of these things again, because I know sometimes we all make mistakes and you want to make sure that you check for any mistakes before you submit your paper. If you have any questions, please let me know. I am happy to help. I know this is a lot of rules, but this is the requirement for an APA paper in college, and I want to make sure that you have all the information you need so you can do well.